Penguin Random House Audio presents The English Experience, a novel. This is the author, Julie Schumacher. For Winifred and Frederick Schumacher. Mom, I don't think you would have approved of J. Fitger, but Dad might have liked him. Chapter 1. Jason Fitger, chair of the Department of English at Payne University, found himself summoned in mid-December to the office of the new provost. The job of provosts was to create and then disseminate bad news, so he expected her to announce a new punitive measure to be inflicted on his academic unit, which had scarcely survived the crises of the previous years. Instead, after arranging her features into a facsimile of cordial goodwill, she claimed to be presenting him with an opportunity, truly a plum. Fitger braced himself, preparing to hear it. "You're probably familiar with our experience abroad programs," the provost said. Yes, he was familiar with them. He had, in fact, argued against their existence. First, because of the shortage of faculty willing and able to teach internationally, and second, because of the absurd and gratuitous colon between the words experience and abroad. The provost, adhering to the serpentine rhetorical style of the university's upper administration, offered some prefatory remarks about the challenging times Payne had endured and about the tenacity and community spirit that had allowed the university, a shining beacon of higher learning, to prevail. Fitger retied a shoelace and waited. "I'm inviting you to teach the Experience England class this coming January term in London," she said, leaning back in her leather chair. The January term at Payne began in less than 3 weeks, and Fitger hadn't yet graded his essays from the fall. He told the provost he wasn't interested. She seemed not to have heard him. Like all the Experience Abroad classes, the England seminar, she explained, was interdisciplinary in nature, involving cultural studies, art, religion, history, government, and, of course, literature. But once he took the course over for himself, he would be free to tweak the curriculum if he chose. The program was based in a lovely neighborhood on the fringes of London, with day trips to Oxford, Stonehenge, and Bath. If she were able to make the trip herself, she would jump at the chance. This was, in essence, a 3-week salaried vacation, not to mention an escape from Payne and its weather during the worst of the winter. She certainly envied him. "There's no need for envy. I'm not available," Fitger said. "Really? What made him say that?" The provost smiled. What made him say it? Well, it was true. First, there were various university tasks, most of which had their origin in her office, that he had to take care of, and there were spring semester classes to prepare, and, theoretically, a few meager days for his own vacation, sure to be punctuated by as yet unforeseen emergencies that invariably cropped up over the course of any holiday. Besides, were department chairs, with their Kafkaesque workloads, truly the best candidates for— The provost waved these objections away. Easy enough to bring his departmental tasks with him. He could probably take care of them on the plane. It was almost 2013, and there was a little invention he might have heard of. It was called the personal computer. She leaned toward him over the immaculate expanse of her desk, and Fitger was reminded of a python flexing its coils in preparation for an assault on its prey. She wasn't talking about sending him to Cedar Rapids, for God's sake. This was London. Theaters, museums, the changing of the guard, high tea with scones and jam, the Queen. Everyone loved London. Jason Fitger did not love London. The last time he'd been there was at least a decade earlier with his then-wife Janet, and his primary memories of the trip involved a sodden cylinder of blood pudding, an evening of poorly timed sex, and rain. Surely there were Anglophiles somewhere on the Payne campus, members of the faculty endowed with resources beyond a vague hostility to all things British, who might be willing, if not eager, to teach such a class. What about Ravenel in theater? No, the provost had already asked her. Sheffield in sociology? Also a no. Ruiz? Allington? No and no. Ideally, the course would be taught by the faculty member who had proposed it, Randy Lortimer, in history. But, the provost paused, there were complications. Complications, as Fitger and everyone else on the Payne campus knew, involved Lortimer being removed from his office in a straitjacket the week before, probably driven around the bend by the paperwork and regulations associated with taking a group of undergrads abroad. The provost looked at her watch. The students had paid their fees, she said. The tickets were purchased, the housing and schedule and coursework arranged. To be blunt, Payne wasn't prepared to refund or lose the money. And what else did he have to do over the winter break? While the other faculty she had approached had family and holiday commitments, Fitger, she happened to know, was childless and divorced, and, in curmudgeonly fashion, had long lived alone. Perhaps more to the point, she would be reviewing his department's budget request at the end of next month. How did he feel about the possibility of receiving, or never again receiving, assistance or protection of any kind from her office? Fitger took a deep breath and looked down at the carpet. Near his left foot, some sort of insect, a variety of ant or small beetle, was traversing the thread-like fibers, plunging down to the polyester forest floor and laboriously scrambling up again. "Does this class have a syllabus?" he asked. Of course it did. Every class at Payne had a syllabus. The provost would have her assistant send it to him, along with a packet of information, including profiles of the students, all of whom had been carefully vetted. Travel and other logistics had all been arranged. Was his passport current? Good. It was settled. They stood. On the flat of the desk between them, Fitger saw a slip of paper with a list of names, all of them crossed out except for his own at the bottom. The provost wished him a pleasant trip. Fitger was, as per the provost's description, childless and divorced, but he didn't live entirely alone. He and his ex-wife, Janet Mathias, co-owned a dog, trading him back and forth like a surly intermediary between their two homes. A mutt of uncertain lineage, Rogaine was a threadbare, unappealing creature. Fitger had misgivings about his character and disposition, and suspected that Rogaine's feelings toward him were the same. Now, sitting in Janet's kitchen with a worn leash dangling from his hand, Fitger explained that, due to the provost's opinion of him as a friendless recluse, he would be unavailable for canine care for 3 weeks, from January 1st to the start of spring term. "What are you making, by the way?" he asked. The room smelled of onions and garlic. "Vegetarian goulash, with a side of poached chicken for Rogaine." Janet wiped her hands on her apron and, plucking a pen from a container that was labeled pens, she consulted the large paper calendar on her closet door. A paper calendar, Fitger thought, was a lovely nostalgic touch in a kitchen. On Janet's version, the dog custody days were clearly marked. He watched her revise her January schedule. She frowned. "He's got a veterinary appointment on the 15th. I took him last time, so this one's your turn." Fitger looked at the dog, sitting between them on the tile floor and licking its genitals. "I suppose we could trade. Would you be able to—" "No. No trading. I'll call and reschedule him," Janet said. "So you can take him when you get back. He's supposed to have his teeth cleaned, and he needs his shots. He should also have his anal sacs milked." Excuse me? Don't.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?